Hey everyone, today's video continues DC's latest epic, Absolute Superman, issue number 2. We open with a flashback, a cozy living room in Cal's hometown, 6 years before the Man of Steel ever crash-landed on Earth. At the time, young Cal was attending online school from home. His teacher, known for a progressive style, was generous with praise and grades, but on that particular day, Cal was half asleep, nearly missing roll call. When the teacher finally called on him, she questioned whether Cal's essay was actually his own, or if he, like many other students, had relied on AI tools provided by the Science Union. Cal, still groggy, looked at the screen and quietly replied, "I wrote it all myself." The teacher didn't push further, her cold reply, "Call your parents." Drained, Cal curled up beside his little dog and drifted off, trying to recover from a long night spent writing. Fast forward to the present, deep in a Brazilian mine. Now grown, Kyle, the Man of Steel, was helping local workers when he's suddenly surrounded by agents from Lhasa Road. He and Agent Louis Ryan are both restrained with high-tech cuffs. Louis mocks him, calling him Superman, and even zaps him in the face with a stun gun. "You're under arrest, so what if you're Superman?" Esther, Kyle's AI assistant, urges him to flee, but Kyle's hybrid physiology is no longer fragile. With a subtle motion, he lifts his arm, nearly knocking Louis off balance, not to attack, but to test the restraints. Louis, panicked, gets aggressive and aims her weapon at his face. That's when Saul, Kyle's sentient armor, activates. A section of it slides from his left arm to wrap around the cuffed wrist. A golden glow surges as energy pulses through. Saul whispers, "Master, let me handle this." More hostiles incoming. And he's right. More Lhasa Road agents and peace envoys flood the scene. Misunderstanding Saul's protective command, "Don't hurt him," as a threat to their hostage, they don't hesitate. "Fire!" they scream. A storm of electro bullets rains down, targeting both Kyle and Louis. In that instant, it's clear. No one cares whether the hostage lives or dies. As the first wave of gunfire erupted, the Man of Steel immediately lunged forward, shielding Louis with his own body. He dove to the ground, collapsing right in front of her, his back pierced by dozens of sharp metallic probes. Behind him, a radiant red glow began to emerge, and within seconds, a large crimson cape materialized out of thin air, emanating a sense of safety as it enveloped both of them like a living shield. But Louis began to struggle. "Let me go!" Kyle, Superman, looked puzzled. "Weren't you just leaning on me for cover?" While they argued, Saul, the sentient armor, continued analyzing the cuffs with fascination. Interesting, this device appears to have self-restructuring capabilities. The cape was able to block most of the electricity, but not enough to completely protect Louis. Seeing her injured, Superman's face tensed. He knew he had to act faster. Facing her directly, Louis gritted her teeth. "Don't pretend, I didn't ask for your help." Kyle shook his head silently, then turned to Saul. "Secure her, gently." Before Louis could react, the Man of Steel took her by the arm and launched into the sky. The red cape continued morphing, wrapping tightly around Louis like a cushion, keeping her safe as they soared through the atmosphere. Below them, Lhasa Road's armored vehicles transformed. Rotor blades deployed, turning tanks into flying combat choppers. This tech was clearly not of Earth. The commander barked, "Open fire!" But another directive came from Brainiac. The AI, overseeing their entire war system, used chemical rounds. A pilot hesitated. "But what about the hostage?" A cold response cut through. "No one asked you to protect the hostage." 2 massive cannon shells exploded midair, heading straight for Superman. In the tense moment, Kyle asked Saul, "Can you handle it?" Saul immediately adjusted the armor to absorb the full force of the impact. Boom! 2 powerful blasts rocked the sky, but not a scratch was left behind. Superman held Louis close, gliding through the smoke and landing safely on solid ground. But the real danger didn't come from the army behind him, it came from the woman in his arms. Although they had landed safely and momentarily escaped pursuit for the Man of Steel, the true threat wasn't external. It was Louis, the supposed hostage. No sooner had she regained consciousness than she pushed him away, making Kyle, already weakened by his wounds, stumble to the ground. And she didn't stop there. She quickly contacted her superiors to report Superman's location. Kyle, alarmed, ordered Saul, "Jam all signals." Saul replied curtly, "Done." A subtle energy wave rippled out, cutting all communications instantly. And now, amidst the tense silence, Kyle, the Man of Steel, finally speaks. He looks at Louis, his voice hoarse. "I've saved your life 3 times. And for what? You still want to drag me in." Louis snaps back, "You're a threat. You've caused chaos. You've hurt civilians. I uphold justice." Kyle falls silent, not because of the accusation, but because of the blindness behind it. He sees it clearly. Louis has been brainwashed by the polished slogans Lhasa Road repeats endlessly. "You think you represent justice?" he asks. You're serving a system that tramples human rights. To them, people like me, like the civilians here, we're just livestock. Louis yells in anger, "You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I've been through." Kyle remains quiet, but within, memories flash, images of the oppressed, sweat-drenched garment factories, suffocating mining shafts, all flood his mind. "I know more than anyone," he says, "and because I've seen their pain, I hate this place." He can no longer hide the fury. Looking straight at Louis, Kyle says bitterly, "You are the embodiment of everything wrong with this planet." The words strike her. She mutters, "This planet? Mine? And what about his? Where is it?" Saul, sensing his master is nearing the edge of disclosure, immediately sends a warning. "Do not say more. Keep it secret." Kyle understands. He turns away silent. "She's not worth talking to anymore," he murmurs. Quietly withdrawing, leaving Louis behind, he asks Saul, "Any progress?" Suddenly, a Lhasa Road attack chopper looms like death overhead. A screaming shell falls from the sky, exploding in front of Kyle and Louis, debris flying everywhere. Kyle halts, stunned and furious. He can't believe Lhasa Road would stoop so low as to fire into a crowded civilian zone. Hundreds of innocent lives at risk. Without hesitation, he raises his hand and shouts, "All civilians, take cover now." As he yells, he lifts a car with one hand, his eyes ablaze. With a powerful throw, he hurls the vehicle like a cannonball at the roaring chopper above. "You see this?" he shouts. "This is how the company treats us. We're no longer pawns, we are the steel ones." The car hit its mark. The helicopter burst into flames, spiraled out of control, and crashed. But tragedy struck. It slammed straight into a residential apartment building, triggering a massive explosion. Fire erupted, racing through gas pipelines, trapping dozens in a sea of flames. In that moment, Kyle no longer hesitated. Saul's worried voice echoed in his ear. "Energy's depleted, Kyle. You can't go in there." But the man of steel wasn't listening. In his heart, only one thing remained: save lives. He turned to Louis and said urgently, "The sun's fading, but I'll still protect you." That sincerity, in the midst of chaos, stunned her. Her heart wavered. Quietly, she said, "Don't worry about me. Save those people." Immediately, Superman flung his red cape around Louis and soared into the sky, landing before the crowd of trapped civilians. In the suffocating black smoke, Kyle held Louis with one arm while carrying a sobbing little girl in the other. With immense strength, he punched through the reinforced concrete wall, creating a path to safety. The fire was forced back, and the smoke spiraled out into the wind. And within that smoky chaos, the silhouette of the Man of Steel, the one who refused to be a tool, who dared to protect life, emerged as a symbol of hope. Amid the blazing inferno, Superman had nothing left to hide. His battle armor opened completely, revealing the raw, vulnerable form beneath. The crimson cape expanded to its fullest, covering the panicked crowd, forming a living shield between flame and despair. Behind him, Louis couldn't look away. Every movement, every breath, every protective gesture of Superman engraved itself into her memory. Later, she would document it in her internal report. "At first, I thought his strength came from that strange armor, but witnessing it with my own eyes, I understood. His true power came from within. We knew nothing about him. Maybe even he doesn't fully know himself." She described Superman as a shy man, soft-spoken, unsure, lacking confidence, and out of place in the very world he's saving. But in those moments of crisis, he became a beacon of resolve, as if even panic itself paused in his presence. She wrote further, eyes brimming, "He's like a lost child, with a past violently torn away. Yet he still chose to rise, to stand against power, to protect those who have no one." Superman led the civilians out safely, assuring them the energy dust in the air was already beginning to heal their wounds. The living battle armor, Saul, remained active, constantly adjusting its self-repair protocols, providing support and protection to its wearer, leaving Louis stunned at the fusion of technology and the man within it. Then, Superman used his freezing breath to extinguish the flames, followed by precision heat vision to melt unstable structures and clear a path for rescuers. But the toll was immense. He collapsed, drained, the solar energy within him nearly depleted. Louis watched in silence, unable to raise a hand against someone who had risked everything for others. She no longer saw an enemy, but a noble soul fighting against injustice. Slowly, energy began to return. Saul resumed its duty, healing its master. In that moment, Louis, at the closest range possible, and saw Superman with unfiltered clarity. She later added, in her private report, "He smells like an ancient oak wine barrel, aged for thousands of years in a cellar, deep, calm, and hauntingly captivating. One encounter, one unforgettable impression. The scent of oak mingled with the smoke of the battlefield." She thought to herself, "This is the kind of man the entire DC universe can't help but love." Then, amid the crackling fire and swirling ash, Superman turned back briefly, whispering a thank you, perhaps for helping him save lives, or maybe For not exploiting his moment of weakness, a fleeting sense of connection, a fragile beginning of trust? Finally, Superman answered the earlier question, who are you? Where are you from? In the Arctic Ocean, there's an island covered in white, year-round. Polar bears outnumber people. The sun sometimes shines for days, but when night falls, you can see more stars than anywhere else in the world. A place, cold and remote, much like him, but quietly glowing in the dark. Beneath a sky full of stars, where only stone and silent matter encircle the icy bay of A, Superman unexpectedly reverted to the clumsy awkwardness of a boy. When Louis smiled gently, he scratched his head, fumbling for words. I'm one of the children born out of nowhere. My planet is called... But the confession was cut short by the sound of a click. Saul had finally unlocked the cuffs, and Superman paused. As if something inside him shifted, his gaze suddenly grew distant. He silently ascended into the sky and vanished, leaving Louis standing alone on the ground. In the post-event report, Louis made her stance clear. I propose continued surveillance of Superman, requesting authorization to become a full-time researcher on his case. Unfortunately, Lhasa Road, under the management of the AI known as Brainiac, did not support her. Hiding behind lab walls, Brainiac posed as a cold, emotionless system and issued an order demanding Louis revise her report to label Superman as a threat. Her response was a clenched fist crashing into the screen. She called Brainiac a developmentally delayed intelligence and declared war on the system's manipulation. A passing commander advised Louis to step back, get some rest, and not foolishly challenge an AI. But with the resolve of a journalist devoted to truth, Louis committed to writing the most honest account herself, flying with him, through fire. The dust from his cape still lingers in my hands. At that moment, a quiet flashback emerges, returning to young Kyle. That day, a sudden power outage interrupted his online class. No longer sleepy, he ran outside to play with his little dog, unaware that inside the house, his parents, Lana and Joel, were racing to build a dream that could save an entire race. Based on a design Kyle had drawn when he was 12, Lana M, a mechanical genius, created Saul, a living being powered by solar crystals capable of transforming into both armor and spacecraft. Lacking materials, Joel was ready to steal them from the mines. Still holding out hope that the Science Union might help, Joel remained idealistic, but Lana, sharp and realistic, scoffed, a mechanic and a miner. How could we possibly stand up to scientists? Yet they didn't back down. Lana made her decision. Steal every last crystal. I'll build a massive ship, big enough for everyone we love. Joel answered, his hand tightening around hers. We'll hold each other, our hearts forged in steel. Our blood burns with fire. Our destination, the stars. In the present, Louis, eyes unwavering, sat alone. Her final report was finally complete after a long, sleepless night. She reread it, feeling her heart tighten. Maybe the blood of a true journalist in me has finally awakened. And so, the story didn't close with a battle, but with belief that justice, truth, and hope still endure, as long as there are people willing to stand in the light. After everything, Superman pulled up his hood, preparing to disappear again. He wished to return to anonymity, a life where no one knew his name, where no one called him a hero, but it was too late. His actions had already spread like wildfire. From street corners to mining shafts, from sidewalks to bulletin boards, protest banners flew high. Join our family! A bold message displayed during a Lhasa Street festival, burning with faith and defiance. Meanwhile, at a mining site, the Peace City military, owned by Lhasa Road, stood guard all night. A young soldier named Smith, supposedly on injury leave, had voluntarily returned to work. Unlike his mercenary comrades, Smith had been brainwashed into a full-blown fanatic, obsessed with protecting corporate interests at all costs. He shot at civilians without orders and arrogantly lectured, "We helped you out of poverty. Where's your gratitude? Peace comes at a price." That scene was just a glimpse of Phase 2 in Absolute Superman, when the world began to realize that behind the mythical armor stood a flesh-and-blood man, powerful yet profoundly vulnerable. This series revealed astonishing truths. The very ship that brought Superman to Earth was actually Saul in disguise, meaning the armor was not just a weapon or defense system, but his home, his vessel across the stars, a part of his very soul. But that same dependence on Saul would eventually lead to complications, unforeseen interactions, unpredictable responses beyond technical limits. Even Saul found himself perplexed. There were moments when Superman stripped away the armor entirely, standing there, exposed, a symbol of pure, unfiltered fragility. No one could blame Lewis or anyone else for being drawn to that magnetic vulnerability. Writer Jason Aaron masterfully wove in a deeper societal message, the conflict between human creativity and soulless artificial intelligence. When Louis stood her ground against the AI Brainiac, her words struck like a slap against cold control. Exactly. Since when did good people write reports using AI? And if one had to describe absolute Superman, the closest metaphor might just be a fried cat, cold on the outside, warm on the inside, sensitive, wary of people, but if you're patient enough, he'll eventually open up. Louis Ripon was the first to break through that armor. Between the boy and the man within Superman lies a magnetic tension, an emotional tug of war. The description of Superman's home planet, too, was something Louis likened to a poem, romantic and sincere, where stardust gathers into tragedy. And just like that, we've landed fully into the absolute DC universe, a story packed with conflict, shadows, poetry, and a surprising dose of charm. This is Comics Recap. See you in the next video. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to hit follow and show your support.